I want to welcome you to this week's episode of the CVC Home Service Success Network. This is sponsored each and every week by CVC Success Group. And the reason we do this is share ideas, concepts, processes. The last couple of weeks, we've had some great guests on here, shared a lot of great information. I hope those have been times of value. Today, it's the three of us, but we've got a very interesting topic. And this came about because a client of mine sent me a video earlier this week. And I said, hey, man, I think that's a great topic to get onto our broadcast this week. So here's a story. There's a young man and his father, and they're on a trip. They're traveling by horseback. It was some years ago when the mode of transportation was riding a horse. So as they were on this journey, it became very, very foggy, and they couldn't see far ahead. In fact, you couldn't see but a couple feet ahead of them. So the son said to the father, Dad, I can't see where we're going no more. And the father said, son, can you see one step ahead of you? And the son said, sure. And I said, then that's your answer. Take one step at a time. And this made me think, how often do so many people get overwhelmed because they have this dream of where they want to go to, but by being so overwhelmed, they really don't make any progress. They don't understand that they got to do the one thing that's going to make the biggest difference in life, and it's going to take them the farthest in the next day. You got to stop back. You got to maintain your focus. A lot of times we have these high hopes, these big dreams, and there's a lot of steps to get there. In fact, when Cheryl went through her Ziegler training, I can remember one of the programs she was presenting, which was a Ziegler program, was a stairway to success and all the steps that you had to take to make that journey to the top of the stairwell, which was your dream destination. So Cheryl, I sent you and Josh both that video that the client has sent me earlier this week. What's your thoughts on this, on taking the next step?
Well, it brought back the memories of going through Ziegler and the steps. And the one main thing about it was you can't take an elevator. You've got to make all the steps to make things work. And we see it every day. We see people they've got this goal and they're trying it, but they're trying to leap forward and get there. And you can't do that. So before they get all the way through the steps, they've given up because it's just like too much. I just can't do this. But my belief is you can do anything with the knowledge if you take enough steps to get there. But I did like the video. It was really, really well presented.
Right. Did it bring that message home to you like it did to me when I saw it?
Oh yeah. I kind of live by that one anyway, but you can't tell it some days. But that's the way kind of, I went through so much training with it. And yeah, it brought it all back up. It brought the reasons, and it brought, if nothing else, it brought the logic of doing it. And I don't think people think logically anymore. They think with their heart, especially when they've got goals. They see that shiny new thing up there and they want it, but there's steps to get there. And I think till people realize, like the Ziegler thing says, you can't take the elevator, you've got to take the steps. I think there's going to be a lot of goals that won't be met.
Yeah. Josh, what's your thoughts on this of taking that next step and identifying what the next step is? If you're dealing with software, there's a lot of steps to getting a software program working successfully. So what's your thoughts on this, brother?
So I always think about what you always say is about how do you eat an elephant? It's one bite at a time. You put, it's sometimes with software, it's testing. It's, sometimes it's understanding that it's not going to be perfect. That in order to get to the next better level, you have to do, like you said, that one step. And sometimes, it means taking steps back, but you having that, what I want to say, tenacity to keep moving forward instead of just sitting back is really what's important. Is just in failing forward. That's always a very big one. Is at least we're not where we were yesterday.
Yep.
Type scenario.
And I've been watching with interest. I've been seeing a lot of videos on social media featuring a guy named Jesse Cole. And I don't know if you know who Jesse Cole is, but Jesse Cole is the brains behind the baseball team called the Savannah Bananas. The Savannah Bananas. I actually started right over here in Gastonia, North Carolina, and then through some transition ended up in Savannah. But they don't play baseball like traditional baseball. It's true entertainment. They have changed the rules, and Banana Baseball is taking off and being one of the biggest hits in sports. I'm seeing tickets on the aftermarket going $600 to $1,000 for a seat to watch the Savannah Bananas. It's so popular today that you have to enter a lottery in order to buy the tickets. And what you have to do is pick out the game you'd like to go to, and then you put your name in, and if they draw your name, you're then able to buy the ticket. Cheryl, so you'll know, I actually signed up, put in the lottery for the game they're going to play in Chapel Hill next year, because I'd love to go see these guys. We missed our opportunity because they actually played right here in Kannapolis, North Carolina, just a short year or two, which was a really small stadium. But here's what Jesse said. It was messy. It was truly messy. We were playing to stadiums where we couldn't get 1,000, 2,000 people in the seats. And it was really messy to come up with the system. So what Jesse did was he took the steps. He came up with a concept, an idea, and now they're going to be in ultra large stadiums in 2026. And they actually have a league, and they're forming additional teams. It is something that is really taken on. But that's often what's going to happen as you go through life, starting off, and as you go through the steps, it's going to get messy. And sometimes you're going to bust your tail. That's just the way it is. Sometimes you're going to fall flat on your face. So Cheryl, if you were talking to somebody, talking to a client, a friend, or whatever, and they were so overwhelmed that they couldn't get to where they wanted to go. And we do have people like this that are clients. They get very, very overwhelmed, and they can't make the journey because they can't focus on what's got to be done to make the biggest difference tomorrow. What do you tell these people?
My first thing, sit down and take a breath, because I think that's where people forget a lot of things. They forget to breathe, except the automatic that you have to do. But sit down, write it on paper. How do you get there? What are the steps you need to take? I mean, I'm getting ready to clean closets. Have I made a list of things to do yet? No, but I know what I got to do first. And then I know what I have to do second. That's very minimal. But when you're looking for that huge goal, and there's no way of reaching it without taking the steps, because Josh said something just a few minutes ago. There's going to be times when you fall back a step. One's not going to work. You got one ahead of the other. You have to back up. You have to walk again. And so I want to tell people that when they're taking these steps, they're not all the same size. And you may trip on one. I mean, we're getting old enough. If we don't watch it, we're going to trip on a step. And you do that every day in the goal search. So just take your time. Keep the shiny object up in front of you, but go at it with an order and put your mind to it, and don't rush, because it's much better when you get there and it's correct than if it's all jumbled up.
So I got one additional question on what you just said. Does this mean our guest bedroom is going to stop being a warehouse?
If this ball could hit you, I would throw it. Honestly, the warehouse is scaling down. Believe me, a couple more trips to the dump may help it. But yeah, I've given everything away that our kids will take. In fact, every time I say, will somebody, and the answer is always no, they don't even let me say it anymore. So I've got to find respective homes for some of this stuff.
Yeah.
So I have a tip on that, Cheryl.
What's that?
We just every time we went and visited, we just left stuff.
I don't go that many places anymore. I'm just, the garbage man's beginning to look
Well,
at us.
I'm saying every time you go to a kid's house, you just bring stuff and you just leave it. That's what it's come down to.
But yeah, I mean, Jerry and I are getting to the age that one day we may move. May never, but we may. I do not want to move all this stuff. So just so you know, Jerry, I'm working the steps. Okay. I am. And I know for me, it is steps because I've got my work for CVC on one side. I've got the other things I have to do on the other side. But I've got to keep in mind that I have a mission with a goal. And when I reach it, you can't say this anymore. Okay. But until then, I'm taking steps. And yes, have I fell back more than once because I keep putting new stuff in there. So I know what falling back a step is, but it's not deterring me from doing it. It's just slowing it down.
Got you covered. Understand. I just had to dig that in about the guest bedroom back there, the warehouse, as I call it. Okay.
Your bed will be in there when it's done. Okay.
I hear you. Okay. So, Josh, what about you? I'm sure you get people, you talk to them, and they hear about these phenomenal software programs, but they got to take the first step. How do you get them to take that first step and not concentrate on the end result?
That's a tough one. To me, it's I've been able to prove savings and extra profitability. That hey, if we do these things and we do them a certain way, that there will be more profit for you at the end of the day. There will be less frustrations when your warehouse will work better. But you have to do the hard work up first for this stuff to happen.
Got you covered. Understand completely there, brother. Well, one of the things is, and we actually did this on an earlier episode, this is a book that I'd recommend anyone who cannot focus on the next step. And this book is entitled The One Thing, The Surprisingly Simple Truth Behind Extraordinary Results. It's written by Gary Keller of Keller Williams Real Estate. But in this, he talks about what is the one thing that you can do in your life, in your business, that's going to make the biggest difference tomorrow. That's one of the things that I would recommend. Another one is, I'm going to get Cheryl to explain it to you, is mind mapping. Cheryl, can you explain a little bit about mind mapping? And I'm going to put a link in here to an earlier episode that Cheryl and I did on mind mapping. So Cheryl, kind of tell them what mind mapping is all about.
Well, we all get so much stuff in our mind. Okay. I need to get this and this and this and this and this and this done that you can't think anymore. So get you a huge piece of paper and a bunch of different colored pencils, and you draw your goal in the center, whatever it is, or whatever you're working on, put it in there. And then you branch off and put small steps, and then you branch off those and put more. I did it when I wrote my book, and I think Jerry did it on his first or second book too. I'm not sure. But when I wrote mine, I mind mapped it. So when I sat down and started writing, I just looked at this chart of all colors of things and worked backwards to come up with the final book. But it helped me. Once you get it on paper, you can get it out of your mind and the new stuff can come. You can't do it in one day. Do what you can do, then walk away. When you come back, there'll be more stuff that you can put on, and it can just grow, and all of a sudden it gets huge. So I suggest that's a good way to do stuff. It, like I say, it gets it out of your mind and gets it on paper. And to me, it works better than a list.
Yep. And I went in while you were talking. I found the link to the episode. It was episode number 136. So it's actually been a couple of years since we did this. We're over 300 episodes now of this particular weekly broadcast. But So we've been doing this quite a few years now, and the amount of episodes are actually building up. But it's episode number 136. I sent you the link where you can find it onto our website. So, Josh, what about you? You got any ideas of how to get people to maintain their focus to get things done?
I do. So I've talked about this before, but Bob Iger, the CEO of Disney, talks about in one of his interviews how he got the Disney job. Because as you can imagine, it's a very high paying job. And it's going to be a very competitive field. And the way he got the job was, he went in there and his buddy coached him. He says, okay, what are the top 10 things you would fix at Disney? What would you do to profit them? And they got it down to 10. He says, okay, now get it down to 3. And 3 is going to be your pitch. 10's too many. Get it down to 3. And those 3 are going to be what you're going to work on in your first few years in order to bring more profitability. And that was his pitch to, bring Disney to the next level. And, despite the political stuff of Disney, he brought, more investor value, to the company, raised the stock price, more revenue, so on and so forth.
Yeah. And, this is one of the reasons why one of the books we also recommend is a book called Traction by Gino Wickman. And in this book, he talks about visionaries and implementers, and where visionaries have a hard time staying on task and implementing. And if we look at many of the great people in this world, they're visionaries. But what they've been able to do is find great people to delegate the important things to, and the people take it to the next level for them by getting the right people on the team. So, hey, I hope this episode has given you some things to think about. Just remember, you got to focus on that next step. If you've just got your focus on what's going to be happening in 3 years, you're never going to make it there. You got to maintain your focus. Cheryl, anything you want to add before we end this today?
Just don't get overwhelmed. Take it in the amount of time that you need to take it in. Complete your step before you make the next one, so it doesn't turn into chaos again.
Gotcha. Josh, anything you want to add?
Look at every mistake as tuition, that you're smarter, and as long as you don't do it again, you're doing better.
Got you covered. Okay, folks, appreciate you joining us this week. If you joined us live, that's great, but the vast majority of our watchers, our listeners, they're going to watch it on the replay over the coming days, and we appreciate it. I want you to know it's an honor, it's a privilege, it's a pleasure to do this every week. We have sustained this for quite a while now. Like I said, we're up to episode, I think we're getting close to episode number 30 of these that we've done. All of them are on our website. You can go in, check the podcast, go back, and you can actually go back and see earlier podcasts, broadcasts that we've done. You'll find us on many major podcast channels. We're actually on Amazon. We're on Apple. We're on a lot of different places. So appreciate your patronage. Appreciate you being here. And with that, we'll see you next week for the next episode of the CVC Home Service Success Network. Have a fantastic week and a fantastic weekend ahead. Talk to you later.